Hello, everybody. How are we this morning? Well, it's this morning here in Australia. Hey, Evan. Um, I guess to start with, we're going to do this so I'm Stephen. I'm the CEO of BugHerd. We have Richard here, who's our head of product, and then Marina. Feel free to turn your cameras on or not. We're going to do this as a kind of a meeting style. So if you want to just jump in and ask questions as we go, I think it's better. It'd be great really to start with, and I guess Evan, you've got your camera on, so it's a good way to start. It'd be great to kind of understand, where in the world you are, and I guess what your problem you're looking to solve is, and yeah, it can help you help direct the conversation around that.
Fantastic. Hi. Yeah, I'm Evan. I don't know why I'm showing up as Evan Catelius as well, actually. I am Evan, but I'm Evan Thompson, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Um, just to make things extra confusing.
Because I'm here
But
too.
yeah, we are both here, but for some reason we're both you. You're the dominant Evan. At any rate, I am a project manager with Push 10. I specialize particularly in our maintenance clients. Yeah, so that's who I am. I am in New Jersey in America.
Nice. I'm a Brooklyn Nets, but formerly New Jersey Nets fan. So that's
Ah, very
uh,
good.
from a long time ago. Is Push 10 an agency or?
Yes, yes, we are an agency specialized in website development and design and strategy for, I suppose, like mid-sized to large companies.
Yeah, great. Ashley, yourself?
Hi, I'm also from Push 10. I was also called Evan K, but I think it's because we used your link, Evan.
Oh, yes.
You're
Um,
multiplying, Evan.
Yes.
yeah, I'm also a project manager for Push 10, while Evan K works on the maintenance side of things. I work on the initial dev builds that eventually go to Evan K.
Yeah, great. Great. And Evan, I guess you've been explained. So Vita, you're next for me.
Hi, it always shows as Vita. My name is Santa Pastorius. I'm actually a senior instructional designer at the University of
Yep.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, United States. We're actually just starting to use this. Some of our colleagues have already used this, but we're using it for course development for like
Yeah, great.
reviewing courses inside of the learning management system.
Yeah, excellent. And Parker, I'm going to and John. So really, we have two organizations here. You guys were also both from Pitt, pretty obviously. So, and what's your roles, Parker and John?
I'm also an instructional designer. I work with both Santa and John on course development.
Yeah, great.
Same. Yep. Yep.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that, guys. So, very quickly, as I said, I'm Stephen, CEO of BugHerd. I'll run through a work like the BugHerd workflow. You guys have two separate use cases, which is interesting because we cover both of those. And so, on the one hand, it's agencies doing agency stuff, building things for other people. And then also the kind of course review and online learning is a big thing for us. But in a lot of the senses, a lot of the dynamics are the same because you have a client. Often that client is the professor or the person who has to go and review that content. So a lot of the workflows of kind of how BugHerd operates work for both. And so we have a lot of I guess customers in both of those fields. So I'll run through BugHerd. Please just put your hand up or drop in the chat if you get questions as we go along. Rich will also be able to jump in and answer questions as we go. But I guess just to start with, really what BugHerd is a tool really built around minimizing the kind of technical or the cost of communicating often with like non-technical people on the internet. So you have a client or you have a professor. That person doesn't really understand a lot of stuff, and they want to give you a piece of feedback. They want to ask for a change. And so they will often send it an email or it'll be a marked up PDF, and you may have some process around this where you're capturing it in spreadsheets or you're putting it, heaven forbid, asking them to create a Jira ticket around it, or you've got a kind of process around that, but it doesn't kind of capture all of the information they need. And so for a project manager, for instance, you got to go and ask a bunch of questions around, what browser were they using, and exactly what operating system you're on, and what part of the website. And so we have, a tool that can minimizes the cost of that and gives both the client something very easy and also the production team that what they need to, get the job done. Anyway, I will stop talking and I will start showing. As I said, feel free to jump in as we go. I will just move everybody back onto my screen. Wrong window. Okay, so this is BugHerd on a little fake website that we've done, but this is the little sidebar here. So you can install BugHerd in one of two ways. You can install it via JavaScript snippet that you put into the head of the website, which it often works. Say in the agency use case, you've got control of that code base. In the online learning one, where you're using it on a third-party LMS, we also have browser extensions. So browser extensions for all the main browsers, and you can make BugHerd appear in that way as well. If I open this, we get this what we call the sidebar. What will happen is the person leaving feedback sees this, and they come and they say, "Okay, I want to leave a change request or a piece of feedback or something's broken." They click this big blue element, and let's say they go down and they say, "All right, well, hang on, this link is broken." So they just select the piece the element that they want to leave feedback on, leave the feedback, and create the task. All of it, 5 seconds. It's done. They're looking at the web page itself. You are looking at the web page itself. I can see there's a piece of feedback here denoted by this pin. If I click on this, we have captured a screenshot of exactly, so this is a screenshot with the pin on it of exactly what that person was looking at when they made that request. It's rendered in the exact browser that we're using. As I said, we capture all of the technical detail where a lot of that back and forth questioning goes on, particularly in the agency use case, which is exactly what operating system were you using, what browser version, what was the resolution, and a lot of things that make things look different on the internet. We capture all of that, so there's no questions, there's no back and forth around that, and importantly, any of the comment stream attaches to this as well. So if I say, Rich, I need new link, instead of this disappearing off into an email stream or in getting lost anywhere, all of the context, the conversations around this particular issue are attached directly to the issue itself. And effectively, that's what gives everybody context. So the client, the person leaving feedback is looking at exactly the thing they understand, which is the website itself, or the online learning content, and then your team gets all the information it needs to resolve the issue. So we have a couple of other things here. We have this kind of tag the page, so I can create a screenshot of the entire page, and then, for instance, I could annotate this screenshot if I wanted to say, okay, hey, there's a thing over here that I want to look at, or I can also record video, which I won't demo on Zoom. But this button, which is really just the kind of dropping the pin, does about 98% of the 500,000 tasks or something we do a month. So it's the other two are there for other contexts, but just most of what BugHerd does is create a pin like this. We have a couple of other bits which I'll kind of get into a moment with project management and all that stuff. But just very quickly, any questions on the first part of BugHerd?
I have a quick question about how that video screen recording works. Is this the right time to ask that?
Yeah, go for it.
Because we oftentimes handle a lot of animations and motion. So some of the QA that comes back from the clients, we typically ask them to do a screen recording if it's not easily captured through a screenshot or something like that, or we can't replicate it.
Yep.
Would that be easy enough to use in that way? Like if they have to restart the screen or refresh the browser, would it still capture the recording, or would it stop the recording if they have to refresh the browser for the motion to appear again?
Yeah, so Rich, you're probably best to answer this. I can't.
Sorry, I'll mute. So when you say refresh the browser, would that be while they're recording or?
Yeah, so let's say there's like an animation that happens on load, and the
Yep.
animation there's like a bug in the animation. So in order for it to come up again, we'd have to refresh the screen so that it can reanimate. How
Yeah, right.
would we be able to record that, or as soon as we refresh the screen, will the recording stop?
Yeah, it would stop when you refresh the screen.
Okay.
Basically, it's designed to capture animations and hover states and things like that in the interaction design. So the way it works is it starts a recording when you click the button. It'll ask them for a few permissions for the mic or the screen. And then I think it's limited to like a minute or 2 minutes because we didn't want them to just start talking about all the issues on the page and have like a 30-minute video that you have to sit and consume. So it's really about keeping it tight on particular pieces of feedback. So that's a little bit unique, like the page load animation scenario. In that case, you'd probably still have to use like a loom or a cap or one of those others. But for the majority of the other cases, like particularly, navigation animations or form interactions or things like that, it's really, really good for instead of them having to describe, it was when you hover over this, it looks a bit janky, blah, blah, blah. They can just record a short video. Yeah.
The other thing as well, and this also applies to the online learning stuff where there's often a lot of video content. If you were to want to give feedback on like an embedded video and you just capture the screenshot of that, it will capture on the frame of that video. So for instance, if there's an embedded content piece or an animation or something, it will capture that screen specifically that you want to leave feedback on. So it still works for much of that. Look at us asking for feedback. All right. Any other questions on this? Okay. I'll move forward then. So we can see this pin's red, lo and behold. So, this one was left by Marina. So the color here, the color of the pin will denote the severity of it. As you can see, she's kind of put some additional content on this. If I were to say mark this as done as well, so let's say we go up to done, it'll get a tick on it. Also, that's very important from the client's perspective. So they can go through, they've made a set of requests for you. They can go through and then see, okay, this one's been set, severity's been set to critical, it's red, but also I can see that it's done. So it's been ticked off. If I were to then archive that task in this situation, it'll disappear. So I'll bring it back just for a second now. But yeah, so you can kind of manage the tasks from this. You can get a view of all of the tasks on this project here by looking at the website itself, which is, I can see, these are all the tasks on this page. These are all of the tasks in the project itself. Now in this, it's only one page, but anything that's specifically been created by or assigned to me. And then I can also search this obviously, and then sort it, let's say by, I want to set it by severities. I'll get rid of the assigned to me. So I can sort these by severities. I can sort them by due dates, etc. So this is one way of looking at this. And I'll talk about what clients can see versus what your team can see, because they're slightly different views. I'll come back to that in a little bit. But yeah, so that's kind of first half of BugHerd. Then what happens is we send that off to a Kanban board for management. So this is the BugHerd Kanban board. Lo and behold, it's a Kanban board. I'm sure you've all used them before. Yeah, I can drag and drop these things. We get exactly the same view. If I open a task, we get exactly the same view of the sidebar that we had on the website itself. I can change these columns. I can add new columns. I can change the names of them, however you want to make that so it works for what your workflow is. We can do in this process pretty easily. We always treat this final column as done. So if you're integrating with other project management tools, so we have integrations with, let's say, everything from Asana, all of the main, other project management tools as well. And, you can use Zapier or our webhooks if there's kind of something that's not in that list to pretty easily manage that as well. Rich, anything else do you think to add on the Kanban board? I mean, it's a Kanban board. That's my view of it. It does the job. We send the feedback here. You manage it. I think a couple of other things, I guess, I'll touch on is, the important thing is this. So we have this, like you see here, there's a comment on this one. If we'll denote unread comments, other bits of information like that. So, if I wanted to go back to my client and ask for additional thing, all of that again would be attached to the task. So I can see, that this is normally where often the development team will sit, or the project managers will sit. They'll sit in here, and the client sits on their website and accesses all of that through their website. Is really the kind of two different types. So before I get into kind of clients and user types, any questions on Kanban, or Rich, anything to add that I did a
Yeah,
pretty quick one on that one. So
yeah, a couple of things. It wouldn't have shown up when you created the task, but there is like some AI assistant features that we have. If you have a bit of feedback that is particularly long, it'll automatically add a title to that to make it a bit more succinct and clean up your Kanban board. Also, it will suggest some tags. I think you might have been a bit quick there, Steve, for the tag suggestions to show up. The AI was probably still working. But yeah, so you can see in that example there, instead of showing all the detail that was in the description, it just summarizes it down into a nice succinct title. If you did want that, you could just hit tab and or accept that as the title, or you can edit it and make it whatever you like. So that's a nice little feature that's just in beta at the moment, which we're iterating on. And then the other thing, I don't know if you're going to mention it in a moment, Steve, but the members only comments. I don't know if you cover that when you talk about the different types of users, but when you commenting. Oh, there you go. Added a couple of tags. So importantly, when it suggests tags, it'll also, if you've got tags already set up on your project, it'll try and use the tags you've already got before suggesting other ones. So that helps keep your board more organized, takes away one more job you have sort of triaging the feedback from users. Yeah.
So we can also set, as Richard said, set templates around this, prevent users from creating new tags or just using the tags that you have set up. Otherwise, they can create their own, again, depending a little bit on how your workflow you want to work. Obviously, we can then filter the board by tag, for instance. So, okay, we want everything where this is a functionality issue, and we'd see that, or filter by assignees, or pretty much most of the stuff that you might want to be able to filter the board by. Another one, I guess, is around here is about limiting timeframes through which people can leave feedback. So this, at the moment, this project is open for them to leave feedback. We can edit this. So say it's currently accepting new feedback. We can schedule times and dates that this will pause. So, the client then goes to the website. They can't continue to add it post that date. So really think about that, I guess, in kind of rounds of review, or you want to put a bit of things. So, hey, you need to give it to this by Friday so the project can move forward. You can do that here. Any questions on any of that? Any thoughts on how that fits versus your current process and what you're doing? All right, I'm going to ask a very specific question then. Ashley, give me your thoughts.
No, this is pretty similar. We use a Kanban board in Asana, and we ask the client to create tickets. So it's a nice flow here.
Yeah. So great.
I guess
Oh, sorry, you
I guess a question did pop up. When you're able to set a due date for when the board is going to close for feedback, is there a way to also set up reminder emails to the client to let the client know that that due date is coming up, or is that not a feature? It's just a curious question.
Not right now, but it's definitely something on our radar as a thing for next year. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Excellent. You use Asana, so I guess you can just connect to Asana. So you have a couple of options around how that works. Where, for instance, when sorry, I'm just clicking on things. When any new task is created, you send it directly to Asana, for instance, or probably what we see more of rather than that is you could assign it on a single task. So you say, I want to send this one task off to Asana. Because Asana will have a whole bunch of other stuff, and you may not, when you're doing rounds of kind of QA, you often end up with a lot of feedback in a very short period of time, and you don't necessarily want to kind of, let's go spam the backlog is the best way I describe it in Asana. So often what people will do is they'll send tasks on individual basis that apply to a broader set of things, or they will do it by a column, for instance. So you say, okay, when this one column, when the task hits this column, it goes to Asana at that point. So you have a few options on how to handle that. I touched briefly on this. We have here this kind of websites and files section. So as I said, you can install BugHerd in a couple of ways. You can install via the JavaScript or extension. For the online learning, this is how you would set up your course. So you generally, what we find is a one, it's kind of module per. So if you're doing multiple modules within a single course, you'll do like the URL, the full URL of that module here. So Vita, just quickly, do you know what LMS are you using? Canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the full path name of that kind of module, and then you get that content. And so you've got two options. You can do it on a module way, or you do it on a single course into a single project. Okay. And so you have, basically those two options. What you don't want to do is have like canvas.com as the URL here, because then everything will effectively go into kind of one project. The extension will take the longest path name possible that you put into this link. We also have PDF and images, so you can get feedback on kind of other assets as well, and you can also import images directly from Figma if you're using Figma as well. So the next thing I'll talk about as quickly is, I guess, the user types. So we have two types of users. We have members, and within members, we have different permissions and things like that. And so members are your team. They see everything. They can, when I went to create a task here, so let's say I go and create this task. All of these, let's call these project management features. So assigning, setting severities, backlogs, tagging, they are all available to members. Members can see everything within the board or within the projects that they have access to. But you can limit them. So we have user types that will see everything within your BugHerd account, and then you can limit. Let's say you're working with an external freelancer or something, and give them access to a single project alone. And then the next one is, I guess, so members of the main group, and that's who we charge you for. And then we have clients. So we have unlimited clients on all projects, and these are people who you really just want to get feedback from. And so you invite clients. We can do it here, or you just go into the asset that you want to share and you share this link with them. They're not asked to create a username or password. We kind of handle that in a bit of a magic way. But once they do that they will be logged into BugHerd from that point forward. And the main thing is that the main difference really in their experience is that when they create a task, these boxes are not there for them. So they create the task, they leave the piece of feedback, and then it will come into you to be able to manage that feedback. Now, you can either have it come straight into the backlog. The default is actually that it goes here into this feedback board. Let me just check a couple. So these tasks here, I can say, okay, these are in feedback. So it's like a triage. So sometimes you're going to get a lot of stuff. It's not always going to be in scope. You're not going to work on it in this cycle. This is an opportunity to kind of keep it outside of that backlog and say, all right, this is something that we're going to work on, or actually I'm going to archive this one, for instance. I'm going to move this to the task board, and then it goes in through that, through the workflow that we have. You also have the option of sending it directly into the backlog as well. For certain plans that we have, clients can also get access to this Kanban board, but they get a cut down view of what they can see again. So fundamentally, if you think clients can see tasks that they've created themselves or have been created by other clients, again, depending on the plan, which means that they don't see, these things that I've created, they went straight into the backlog. So this one was created by someone in our team, or sorry, this one here. The client's not going to see this by default. It's just us. When they go to the website, they wouldn't see the pin. I can actually give them visibility to this by setting it to visible. And so if the client is on a plan where they have access to this Kanban board, they wouldn't see the tasks that we've created. They'd only see the ones that they have. We give them access to the Kanban board in order for you to not have to update them on, the progress of that task as often as you would otherwise have to do. Any questions, I guess, on that bit? So that's a fairly important one.
I guess I just want to confirm that when a client is creating a ticket or providing feedback, they cannot tag the ticket themselves as urgent or...
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. I've worked in advertising for long enough to know what happens if you give them that. Everything goes from here to here. Critical. Everything is critical at the same time. John, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just had one about the backlog. So you said you can either like mark a ticket from a client to go to backlog or set it to go in there automatically. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you have that option, so it can go straight into the backlog. Or online learning is a great one where often you get a lot of content. So they're going through, and there's very large number of tasks on those reviews. Our experience is generally this feedback process works better for that. So it's a kind of triage.
Okay.
You don't, if you have every single piece of feedback over multiple, say, professors, for instance, like just coming into this backlog, it can get very, very busy very quickly.
Yeah,
But again, it just really relates to what your workflow is.
great.
Steve, do you just
Thank
want
you.
to show where that setting is? If you just jump into
Oh,
settings,
yeah, all of those are in here. So.
and sorry, just the general settings there, mate, the top one. So just there in the middle of the screen, send new client feedback to backlog. We'll skip it over there. There's another option there just above it, which you can set a project owner and choose to get notifications about new or unassigned tasks. So that's a really handy one, particularly if you're in maintenance mode, like they're live. You don't want to be checking in on this project. It's not your most active project. You can toggle that on, and whoever's the project owner is going to be getting notifications whenever some new feedback is created. So that helps to not miss any client feedback down the track. That might be some additional work or new business for you.
So, Vedra and John, are you intending that there is a like a third party is in the professor level review of this, or really just for your own kind of QA of course content?
So right now we're using it for like our own QA of course content. I think the idea is we will be using it with our faculty though, very soon.
Yeah, great. Okay, yeah. The reason I ask is a lot of what we think about where the most value you get in BugHerd, and we actually see this in terms of when we that we do surveys a couple of times a year in terms of satisfaction, is that people using it with that, whether it's faculty or client kind of side of things, is where they are the most satisfied with our product. So we kind of actively encourage you to do that because it helps them. And so helping them, it makes makes the entire kind of relationship and process easier. And that very much applies to the agency use case as well, obviously.
Awesome.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, another thing just quickly, because we've got two different groups here, like one agency and one online learning. Do you want to just touch on the different install options and which one's better for
that was
each?
definitely next. So, well, actually,
sorry.
you're here. So do you want to do it? There you go. I've clicked on it. You go.
Sure. So to install BugHerd, you can, there's a few different options. The one we suggest for agencies is to install the JavaScript code on your website. This is the smoothest experience for your clients, means they don't need to use a browser extension or anything like that. If you are a WordPress development shop, we do also have a WordPress plugin, which is essentially the same thing as installing the JavaScript. In terms of like the e-learning use case, the browser extension is the best option for you folks because the various LMSs, it's tricky or not possible to install a JavaScript code snippet into those systems. So the browser extension is the best way to go for you folks. It's a super simple install. In terms of like the sharing with clients via that share link, that'll automatically, if you need to install the browser extension, it'll automatically prompt them for the right one for their browser. So it's still a really sort of smooth one-click experience. But yeah, you folks will need the browser extension on that. The JavaScript code for the Push 10 folks, each project has its own JavaScript code snippet. The thing that varies is the API key there. It's not really an API key. It's not a security issue. It's like a public key. So don't worry about people being able to scrape your API key out of the page and hack into your system. It's just a poorly named key. But so you'll want to install that JavaScript code for each different project that you want to associate a site with. Usually, yeah, it's fairly straightforward. It's just changing that key between projects. That was it.
And so that covers kind of most of really what BugHerd is. We have a couple of other parts. So in terms of how BugHerd is organized into projects. So if you look at the way we do this, we're fairly unstructured with this. We just create a project for everything that we want to do. You can create project folders, for instance, and say put within a various folder, like create like organize all of the various client projects into those folders to make them a little bit easier to find. We have this kind of all projects view as well. And then the other one is around the dashboard. So you can see here, so again, BugHerd is organized into project work. So when it comes to the work that I want to do, rather than having to go into every single project, I can go in here and see anything across all of the projects that I work on and have access to. So I can filter this by, let's say, okay, project, due date, severity, etc. Or for the management layer, you can see all tasks so that relate to everybody across all projects. So you can see what everybody has on at any given point in time as well. And so that's, kind of most of BugHerd in about 30 minutes. So I'll stop talking. I mean, we've kind of touched on any questions, but
Parker put a question in the chat. Are there
sorry.
browser requirements for the browser extension? No, we support all the main browsers. So there's one for each browser. So no specific requirements there.
Awesome,
Except
thank you.
IE6, that kind of thing. We're not.
Yeah, and IE11. But if you're using those, God help you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I have another question. One of the ways that we use the Asana board, and I guess we can always integrate it with Asana if we absolutely need this, is we have a column specifically for client recheck. And it's, the client goes in and makes sure that their issue has been addressed. And what we typically ask the client to do is for them to mark it as done once it's complete. Will the client be able to do that in this board if we give them board access? Like drag the ticket to done themselves.
Yeah, so do you want me to take that one, Steve?
Yes, I do.
So if you just jump into client permissions, there's a few different options you have here. The one there Steve's highlighting is allow clients to change the status of a task. That's some people like yourselves allow the client to do that. Others prefer not to. But yeah, so you've got the option to do that. If I don't think you have a view of you don't have a tab of the client's sort of experience. So I'll just talk to it. The client, as Steve mentioned, gets a sort of simplified view of this. When the client first gives feedback, they'll receive an email from BugHerd with a link to their project board view. I should say if you're on the premium plan, so that is a premium feature of BugHerd called Client Collaboration. But so when you have that enabled, they will see a sort of simplified version of this board. And if you've got that ability for them to change the status, they can move the status of their tasks. What we normally see is folks will have a column like ready for review, sort of between doing and done. And they'll just say to the client, hey, anything that's in your ready to review column, just take a look at the task and move it to done if you're happy. Equally, we find clients tend to also do that on the website itself. So by looking at the site and just going, oh yeah, that thing's been resolved. Okay, I'll mark it as done and it'll become a tick. So you can either drag and drop between the columns or change the status when viewing a task. They're the two ways that clients would do this, but that's definitely a capability we've got. We're also in our sort of 2026 planning at the moment. One of the key things I'm thinking about from a product point of view is really around the review cycle. So feedback deadlines is sort of the first little step towards that, but we're really focused on how you manage that, rounds of reviews, the client approval, that sort of stuff. That's the next area of focus for us.
Thank you.
So just quickly, I just brought it up. I can show you what that board looks like. The client's kind of experience of just share. Yeah, so this is what a client would land on, I guess, if they go to BugHerd per se. And so they see this kind of client. This is on a per project again, so they have these more projects. If they get invited to multiple projects, they see each project, so they want to get this is the one. They can go into that project board, leave feedback on these different types of assets. They can see any of the tasks, as I said, that they have visibility of, and do things depending on the permissions that that you have set up for them in that process. And so just very quickly, I'll show you the slight difference in the experience, except this might not be there anymore. I don't think it is. So no, I can't show you that one. Yeah, anyway, and the other ones are not quite set up for showing. So I won't do that, but this, yeah, effectively it's a slightly different cut down, as I said, just a cut down version, but this is what they see when they kind of come to BugHerd, and then we intend to kind of extend on this a little bit. I'll show you on an asset one. Here's a picture. If I want to just create a task here, if I'm as a client, as I said, it's really the same experience, but just without those kind of key project management features. They can still attach and things like that. So nothing particularly special. It's just really cut down from that.
I do see that you can add like quick links and like kind of customize it for each client. Did I see that right? That dashboard view?
Not at the moment, but that's something that's in our
okay.
sort of remit as well, like how you interact with the client around review cycles and things. So it's an area of focus for us for sure.
So just quickly, actually, when you say quick links and things, like what would you be thinking of in that?
We use other things like maybe a content population plan, things like that. So it might be easier, like our Figma files might be just an easy way to just link things in the board for the client to access directly.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
I also noticed in the permissions, in the client permissions view, there was something that said share project summary. What does that do?
Yep. I'll show you that one. Give me a second. Need to find well, Rich, have you got a busy one? A busy one? I'll do it in the notification.
Not really.
I'll find it in the example.
So it's the project summary is like an email that you can set to happen like sort of weekly or daily or whatever you want. You probably want weekly. You don't really want to spam them on a daily basis about what you've done. But it'll just summarize the things that have been sort of actioned out of their feedback. Another thing we're working on as well at the moment is a BugHerd MCP server. So you'll be able to integrate with your like whether you're using like Claude Code or Cursor or things like that, or ChatGPT to summarize activity of projects. So to make it a lot easier to generate a personalized end of week sort of summary email for yourself that you can send your client to.
It looks like this fundamentally. So you can choose to send this to the client, which is all the new tasks, comments that have come in, tasks done. Again, with the context that these are only the things that they have access to, not everything in the project. But so again, you don't have to send them that update. I certainly know from clients who do receive this, often they're like, "This is the single most valuable thing I get out of it." It's just that update, and you don't have to send it to them. And so, as Rich touched on, we kind of have this version, and then we're going to use some of the kind of AI tooling to be able to do that potentially in a more custom way as well.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, really, the idea here is we want, and it's the same with access to the Kanban board and things. We want to minimize the amount of updating you have to do. Like at the end of the day, they're asking for things in between stuff is getting done and then it gets done. And, you know, at the moment as a project manager, you spend a lot of time sending those updates and responding to those questions and things. We're trying to kind of cut, because that's fundamentally what we do as a service, is cut out a lot of that. And so that's really, as I said, why we encourage using it with clients. We think, you know, you'll get a lot of value out of that because, you know, that's our focus as a product and ongoing into the future. Well, cool. Anything else? Because that really is BugHerd in a nutshell. It's a fairly niche product. Said, you know, just to kind of wrap up, I guess, for us, it's about that making the communication clearer. It speeds up the resolution time. And the two things, you know, so communication for the client, speeding up the resolution time, two things of those actually equate to better projects, better working together. You know, we survey people on this, and they tell us that that's one of the biggest outputs they get, is that BugHerd has a meaningful impact on those relationships. And yeah, at the end of the day, it makes everybody a whole lot happier. So that's our goal. Thank you for your time. But obviously questions, anything beyond we've already talked about?
I just had a quick question about the integrations. I don't remember if Airtable was on the list or not.
What was that one? Sorry.
Airtable, is that on the list of integrations?
No. So the best way to handle Airtable would be either via the webhook. So Airtable's very good to handle that, or just a Zapier or Make.com or one of those kind of third-party things. Or when the MCP is done, for instance, again, Airtable, I'm pretty sure will have an MCP. That type of workflow would work as well. So something happens in BugHerd, do it in Airtable. But at the moment, it would require kind of a third party.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
In the middle. All right, excellent.
Hi, I'm sorry. I joined a little late and
Hey,
I'm terribly sorry. I was like in a huddle and I just got back from vacation in Japan. Oh, I don't have my video on. It's a lot of layers here. All right. So hello. I know I was late, but I did actually want to ask a couple of questions about the Jira integration, and actually get a little bit more information about that. Currently, my agency is working, you know, pretty exclusively with nonprofits, but we focus on and exclusively use Jira. We do Monday.com for like some light project management, but most of our development work is happening there. And I wasn't on the call earlier, so I'm not fairly certain if you've gone through this yet or not, but I would be curious to know, just based on your experience, how seamless is it? I believe it's a two-way sync. Is there a way I could get like a 2-minute demo if you have it set up? And I think that's it for now that I'm on the spot.
But does anybody else, because we can do this in like 5 minutes with Antoinette, unless anybody specifically wants to hear the Jira version. Welcome. Thank you for your time. And, you know, we can just have a conversation with Antoinette. But yeah, Antoinette, to answer that question, yes, it's a two-way thing. Or Rich, you want to talk through it? I don't know if we can show it.
Yeah. I've actually got it here. I can just show you real quick. No worries. Let's meet everyone else. Give me one sec.
We will have to do it reasonably quickly, Antoinette, as well. We've got a kind of 5-minute.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. I was like, oh, and then I was trying to get out of the call, but it didn't work. You know, PM life.
Yeah, right. I know it well. So you can set up the Jira integration. There's a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can configure it. Basically, you connect it on a project by project basis. So a project in BugHerd sync into another project. I can choose the issue types or particular epics or whatever that I want the tasks to be, like BugHerd tasks to be created under. But mainly there's a few different workflows you can set up. You can the most common way is to say when it reaches a particular column in BugHerd, automatically create it in Jira. So you go, when I don't want all the feedback to be going into Jira because the client's saying a whole bunch of stuff and it's not really work and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, you might set it up like this to say, okay, when it's to do in BugHerd, we'll create the issue in Jira, and then you can manage the feedback. You treat BugHerd as like a place to manage that feedback first and protect your developers from that. You can also choose to send comments to Jira and back from Jira, so you can synchronize comments in that way. And you can also say, okay, when it's done in or completed in Jira, I want to move it to ready for review or whatever column you want in BugHerd. That's the most common way you can set it up. Sometimes getting into the weeds, people have custom fields and things like that. It handles
I
that as
saw that
well.
part. I said, "Oh, how fun! You have the option to add additional fields as well." I imagine there's pretty like nice, robust layers of capabilities you can add in and customize.
That is mainly about custom fields, so it doesn't change the UI of what the input is, because we want to keep that really simple
Yeah.
for the clients to just add a comment. But this is for things like sometimes you'll have certain feedback going to certain Jira projects and stuff based on some custom fields you have. That's where
Service
you can
management
manage
or
that.
yeah,
Correct,
exactly.
yeah.
Okay,
In
perfect.
terms of Jira, when it comes through into Jira, it brings in all the information. So, a title, which we auto-generate with AI. So the client doesn't even need to add a title. It just summarizes it. You'll get the description of the issue. You also get this BugHerd information here that is collapsible. So it doesn't get in the way, but when you expand it out, it's got all the details linked to it in BugHerd, additional browser info and things. And then importantly, any attachments. So the screenshot primarily, or video if they did a video recording, and any other attachments they've got. So that's sort of a 90-second
That was
overview.
amazing. Thank you so much. I will look into it more. I'm really curious because we use a lot of looms and stuff as well. And I've been trying to streamline our UAT QA process, especially, working across several projects. It's always kind of tricky to consolidate the information and like have the information the developers need without muddling everything. And I have a developer who's working on something now, and she's like, I can't reproduce this accessibility thing, and I don't know why. And it's like an accessibility tester from another organization, right? So it's something that could be very helpful, especially with like console logs and things like that, which is why I'm so curious. And I worked with another organization that did use BugHerd previously, so I was curious to see
Cool.
more.
We all always say, people don't fully understand it's not the developer's problem here, because they just go and say, I don't have the information in the ticket, like get me the information. And so someone's got to go and get it all and then give them that, exactly. And so that, when you think about the problem we solve, the developer's getting most of what they want anyway. We're making the process from the client through you to them just a lot smoother. So it's kind of your time that we save. Also, I want to shout out for the little humble brag when you jumped on there. I've just been in, Japan holidaying. It's so tough. Oh, so tough.
Yeah.
I'm so busy.
It was like I was
been away.
It's just, when you get back from like a vacation, especially if it's an extended one, then, there's just so much stuff that's piled up and you're trying to like catch up on everything, but also like end of year, like I want to wrap up all of these initiatives that I'd started or at least tried to. So,
it's almost like no one read your
handover
notes and didn't do anything.
And I'm gonna be slightly rude and say we have to roll because we've got another one of these in 10 minutes and we have to go.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a great one.
Yes,
Bye. Nice to meet you.
The real Evan. Bye.